Hello, guys, and welcome to another Thursday Championship. This time at Zandvoort for the Thursday Championship here with RCI. And well, it's not a track I've been to very often here, and but at least the weather's looking good. We've got 50 seconds of free practice left. I'm joined here in the box by Christian on the broadcast and Phil Roberts with me in the studio. So, Phil, how are you doing?
Pretty well, thank you. It's a bit nice temperatures today. I'm at 23 Celsius ambient and 31 trackside, so not too hot, not too cold either. So these drivers should have some fairly good conditions now to negotiate around this tight and twisty Zandvoort track. How are you doing, Austin?
I am good, thank you. And it's worth noting as well, this is round 3. So round 2 last week at Imola. Obviously, we weren't able to actually stream that due to technical issues, but I can tell you that Andy Boardman did win that race. So obviously, you know, there's a little bit going on there. Verstappen, obviously proven very, very quick. Very quick at Kyle Lamy in round 1 too. So again, I think all eyes. It's safe to say that all eyes are going to be on Verstappen this week.
Yeah, indeed. We did see Verstappen's pace through Kyle Lamy, of course, having a bit of an incident on the first lap. Recovered quite fantastically to finish in P2. P2 to Bart Matcher, who has sadly signed out the championship now due to work-related constraints. As we see Yan Yo there just go through what looks like the third to last corner there, just have a bit of a oversteer moment. I think we talked about this before, Austin, didn't we? About these cars and their torque delivery, should we say, in the lower gears.
Yeah, they definitely get a little bit tail happy. We saw a couple of spins of the broadcasts before. Again, Jordan Daly, another driver to watch out for, incredibly quick, and you know, again, you'd expect a fair bit from them in the standings too. And obviously, we've panned camera a little bit now. We've seen a couple of different cars, and I think it's worth going through what kind of cars we can be expecting here tonight. So we've got the Porsche 911, just to recap really, we've got the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup cars, which are essentially GT3 cars, but with the traction control removed. So they have ABS, but not a whole lot more besides the aero on the tyres and the driver's right foot. And then we've got the usual run of GT4 cars, which, you know, around Zandvoort, kind of fun.
I think the slight difference with us, we just move on to qualifying now. Quick one before just going about the GT3 Cup cars. Obviously, qualifying separated out into 2 different sessions over the 21 minutes we have. So first 10 minutes, GT4 cars are free to roam the track, set their lap times, and then we have a little 1-minute interlude, should we say, whilst the GT4s tidy up their hot laps, if they are on a hot lap towards the end, and then we will see the faster GT3 Cup cars come out onto the track. So it should be fairly interesting today, I think, Austin.
Yes, and the reason we do that is so the cars don't kind of fall over each other. The pace difference on these cars, you can expect them to lap each other 2 or 3 times actually throughout the race. So separating them through qualifying just means that the drivers can get the best lap times possible without being impeded. As looking at Tom Watts in surprisingly the Ginetta, which again a car we don't see too often in the GT4 class. But given that Zandvoort being quite, I wouldn't call it a high-speed track, but a medium speed, that, you know, the agility might actually prove useful. As you see Verstappen in the background in that silver Camaro, just getting a little bit sideways, just trying to warm the tyres up. Obviously, the GT4 cars, again, don't actually have tyre blankets, so these guys are going out on completely cold tyres, Phil.
Indeed, I think both them and the GT3 Cup cars will have no tyre warmers, so I think we discussed this last week, like your first 2 laps effectively are going to be for warming up your tyres, so don't expect the first hot lap from these cars to be ultimate pace. It will be probably another 2 or 3 laps. So firstly, myself, like, whenever you go out in qualifying in these cars, you probably want to just fuel up for the whole session, just run round. You're not going to be wearing into your tyres very quickly. And also, by the time, say, you do like a run of, say, 3 laps, so you have effectively 1 really fast lap, or prime lap, should we say, with these tyres, and you come back in, you've only got, like, say, quarter of the session maybe to actually get another lap time down. So depending on how confident you are, like usually it's probably just a good idea to just run just with a 10-minute fuel load. Beg your pardon. Yes, we see Tom Watts now just come through. Should we set a fast lap? I think, Austin.
Yeah, I'd imagine, with the banker lap, again, I was just actually about to bring this up, Phil. You've got an option when it comes to the first lap. Do you just try to push the car for more than it's worth, to try and get that quick lap in, or do you just try and get a banker in on the hope that, you're not gonna mess up your subsequent laps, or at least not get any invalidations? There's a few ways you can take it, but you're not going, as you said, you're not going to get the best lap time straight out of the gate. You need time to warm those tires up and start to prepare the car to actually put in an optimum lap. Speaking of optimum, we don't actually have an optimum track either, so these cars are cold tires and a a track that's not as grippy as a lot of these drivers would have hoped. It isn't going to bode too well as you see Tom Watts coming up to the final corner now. A really, really fast kind of bank to right-hander as it leads onto the main straight. A little bit of a dip there, but not too much. Trying to prioritize the exit, and that will be the first lap done for the GT4s, and will be provisional pole.
Indeed. So we should see Tom Watts, just as you say, finish first, finish his first lap first. Whereas we can see that your man Verstappen comes through with a 1:45.0, which is about, what's that? That's just under 2 seconds faster than Tom Watts' time, as Van der Woerder, I think I pronounce it properly, he's also set a lap just 7/10 off. The Rudy Filmmeter as well, 1.5 seconds behind, as John Araser now comes round last corner of the track in the 6.99. You can see just where he finishes now.
Yeah, it's also worth saying as well that Van der Woerder, Tom Watts, they're in a different class compared to Araser and Wood. Obviously, Araser and Verstappen obviously being in the silver class of the GT4, which, due to how this kind of works, they would usually be, drivers like Araser and Verstappen would be in the pro class normally, but the pro class here is reserved for the 911 Cups. So, in theory, we have a pro GT4 split, and we have a amateur GT4 split. So, they're kind of fighting in their own classes, and they're picking their own battles. So in reality, Verstappen's biggest threat right now is Araser, and Araser's almost a second behind. So Verstappen is gunning that Camaro around here, and that's a huge time difference to make up. And there's still 6 minutes left that Araser can put in, and Daly, in fact, Daly as well, 3/10 behind Araser. So plenty of time to make that one up.
Yeah. Yeah, so Verstappen there, I think he's on a bit of an outlap at the minute, a bit of a slow lap, sorry. He's about 2.5 seconds off his pace. I think he's just backed off now just to save those tyres, make himself some space to Tom Watts as we move to we do apologise, by the way, if we get this wrong, but Van der Wood, beg your pardon, thank you. Christian corrected me in my little earpiece there, as we just got a bit wide, and that's definitely an invalid lap there, Austin, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a slight invalidation, is what we say in the trade, and no, just going a little bit wide onto the grass, and that's not going to bode well for the exit speed as well. That's also going to impede their next lap too. They were, when I last checked, 3/10 up too, so wouldn't have been enough to catch Verstappen, but still a decent time. Araser rounding the final corner as well, crossing the line. Is it going to be enough to challenge? It will be provisional P3, less than 0.2 of a second off of Verstappen, and whilst we're being looked away, Skrillex also coming almost within 1/10 of a second of Verstappen too.
Yeah, indeed. I just want to point out that Skrillex is currently nearly 2/10 up on previous lap time, only 1/10 down on the provisional pole time set of Verstappen. So he just may be on a pole lap at a minute, or at least a provisional pole lap in his class. Verstappen as well, about maybe a 10, maybe 15 hundredths of a second fast. He's just about had a decent exit through the corner. You can just see him just there on your TV screen, that silver car just ahead of Skrillex here. As I think Skrillex has just had a bit of a moment or something through the middle sector. He's down from his previous one there.
Yeah, looking at the deltas here, these guys are trading blows. I'm sorry for interrupting there, Phil.
That's all right.
Obviously, Skrillex currently 2/10 up on their time, but Verstappen 3/10 up. So coming around these final corners now, This could be anyone's. It just takes one person to get a bad exit, and this could turn this whole thing on its head. Verstappen rounding the final corner, about to cross the line, will be improving on their time according to my delta by 0.2 of a second. But where is Skrillex going to come out? 3 tenths behind, and they barely improve. They lost all of that time that we were talking about before, and that will mean that they're less than 1/10 of a second in front of Eraser too. So Eraser also has a chance to make this up. So for carrying on there, Phil. Daly rounding the final corner too, about to cross the line, and will make the gap on Van der Wood, but still behind Eraser.
Indeed, I think that was a nice little lap from Daly there. He's about, I think he said about half a second up on his previous lap. Pretty big improvement there from Jordan Daly. But going back to your point about Skrillex, like he's still okay. You can be like 3 tenths down, but you're on the same row as the grid as the pole man, so it shouldn't be that bad. Obviously, Mike Redford now go P5 in his little Alpine there. Very impressive outing for Mike Redford at the minute.
Yeah, I mean that was a heck of a lap. I mean they were quite far down in their field, and jumping straight to provisional pole. But what I do want to mention, Phil, is from fifth to ninth, only about 3 tenths separate all of those cars. So it looks like the AM class today is going to be incredibly, well, it's going to be stacked.
Indeed, it looks very competitive. As you say, like Mike Redford, there were 9 tenths off on pole lap, but as you say, you only had to go back, you're only 3 tenths back, as you say, to Max Forster in the number 5 Audi in, 10th place. They're only 1.2 seconds off, but it's just going to be little improvements here or there, because there is plenty to gain on this lap, around here as we move to see Christopher Verstappen. I think he's coming into the pit lane. He is coming into the pits, yeah. So I think he's just abandoning his lap, but I think that's it. You should have. So I think we're near enough coming to the end of quali now. I think we still got another
2 minutes till the changeover, and no, Skrillex has another chance to get this. And Skrillex again consistently up on their delta. And I mean, I glance over and they're breaking even and just gone into the red even. But I mean, they're still very early on into their lap. So if they've lost time somewhere on their fastest lap, which we saw them at 3-4 tenths up, they have the chance to kind of correct whatever mistake they might have made and pull that time back for this lap. So we might be looking at a potential pole lap here, Phil.
Indeed, I think he just lost a bit of time for that fast right-hander. I wish I had a track map, but then again, I would be murdering the Dutch language, which nobody wants to hear me do. But yeah, I think he's lost a bit more time through. I think that's it now. Yeah, 11 minutes has just gone past. That's it now. So I think there's no other car that's going to be able to start a new lap. So now this is it. Now this is pretty much sudden death, really, Austin. This is it. This is the last lap.
I'm staring at his Skrillex's delta just to see what is actually going on. They're still breaking even. I don't know if they've passed the point where they might have made a bit of a mistake on that fast lap. I mean, this complex is quite difficult, so maybe we've seen cars lose speed here before, and is it going to be enough? It's flashing green. It looks like he's going to break even, but that's not going to be the improvement I was personally kind of hoping to see. Obviously, pulling the gap up to within 1/10 of a second of Verstappen, it would be great. But then again, I'm also looking at the delta. Now it is going in his favour, so this might be a thing. But going slightly too wide, losing whatever speed they might have had. And that would be no improvement there, so sticking P2 there for Skrillex.
I think Van der Wood is on a massive lap here. Yeah, we're 3 tenths up on the pole lap at the minute, or at least the 3 tenths up on the previous lap. And that's pole in AM, or at least split 2 for Van der Wood. A very impressive last-minute lap there.
That's it. So scratch what I said about the cars being so bunched up in the AM class there, but and with that said, you hear the Porsches come out and. A little bit louder, guys. A little bit louder.
Yeah, sorry for cutting you off there, Austin. Just a bit hype there for a sudden change in at least the last minute AM. Are we gonna call it AM? I forgot what we agreed. We're gonna call it the AM class, as much as some of these drivers aren't really AM, but the lower split 2 class of GT4. Yeah, very impressive lap there from Van der Wood. Just to finish off as Mike Redford, also very impressive there, P2 in class. But yeah, we see. I think this is Andy Boardman in the 69 coming round. I think he's the first one out on track, which he is. He's got a nice healthy gap to the guys behind him of Hewell and Dorber, with Terra in the 50 just towards the end of this little queue. I think Yan Yo's just ahead. I think Dorber's had a bit of a moment, but yeah, I think it looks like most of them are fairly. This little train here of 4 cars. I think Dorber's actually quit now, or at least he's come back to the pits, maybe. Or is that a bit of a moment?
Maybe that would make sense. Cold tires and trying to just get a lap out. Andy Bodman, a winner of last week at Imola. So. Yeah, no, all eyes on Bodman, I think, for this one. Obviously, we had spent a lot of time chasing down Dorber for round 1 too. So, from what we've seen, Bodman is fighting the good fight for the championship and in with a very good chance in that 69 Porsche, starting their first flying lap now. Having done that out lap, so those tires will be slightly warmer than they were a lap ago, but. No, obviously not up to temperature. You don't want to force the tires up to temperature too quickly for risk of getting graining, and if graining these rears is going to be a painful experience for everyone here. Obviously these cars very, very tail happy, as we've seen.
Yeah, indeed. I'd say certainly last time we were here, we're at Kyalami, there wasn't that many low speed corners, but there is a fair few very technical corners. You have to be very careful with the throttle pedal as you go visit the second and first gears of your car, particularly through now as you just come through here. Andy Boardman now down in second gear. You have to be very careful with that throttle pedal in second gear. I think third gear you can get away with ignoring the fact that you haven't got any traction control, but because there's so much torque in these cars, you just visit first or second gear and you have to be so careful on that throttle pedal or you'll be facing the wrong way.
That is entirely it, and no, it's quite a scary experience. I mean, these cars are, at the very least, all I can say is at least there's absolutely, with RCI, there's 0 chance of rain during the race, right?
Wow. I'm not sure. We should have been here last week, apparently. People were complaining about the conditions last week, as Andy Boardman has a little bit of a moment out of the final, or the penultimate corner there, shall we say. Probably wishes we had the F1 style banking that the real track has these days. Obviously this track was modelled a bit before we had some of the improvements, should we say, to the circuit.
It's worth saying as well, Zandvoort was upgraded to a grade 1 track to host Formula 1, in which I think it was turn 3 and the final corner were banked quite heavily, actually. So that does allow faster speeds to faster cornering speeds in those corners. So obviously, if you think about NASCAR and how quick they can go around some of the corners, that banking, physics happens and cars go faster. So that's essentially the changes that were made to the track before this game was made. It'd be good to see the changes put back in, but we can only hope for the time being. Vic Osland's about to come around the final corner now to finish their lap. Looking at the leaders though. Bodman, as you say, Bodman was fastest. Dorber only 2/10 behind, so plenty of time to improve on that. Osland will go into P5 provisionally, a fair chunk behind Raphael Huel though.
Indeed, I think there's been I'm a bit surprised that there's been a bit of a mishmash between Dorber and Boardman. I think Boardman, unless I'm mistaken, Boardman's lap he's posted was the one with that little mistake at the end, I think, unless it's a bit different. He's half a second down now, but the man behind him on track, Raphael Huel, just coming through the penultimate corner now, he's about 6 tenths up on his time at the minute. I'm not sure that is enough. He's on the pole lap at the minute, Raphael Huel is. We see Dorber, who's also 6 tenths up. He's on a massive pole lap at the minute, but then we also have there's all sorts of things going on at the minute. Austin, there's Yo, who's like 2.5 seconds up on his lap at the minute.
That's it, but it doesn't give Boardman a whole lot of time to respond either. I mean, there's only 5 minutes. Well, I'd say 5 minutes halfway through, but 5 minutes is not a lot of time. Especially if you take into account space for mistakes, which Boardman has none. Dorber cannot match Raphael Huel's provisional time so far, almost a 10th dead behind with a 3:37.9. And it's all looking very good for Raphael Huel at the moment, who is currently breaking even on their delta on their current lap.
Yeah, he's just coming through the fast right-hander now. I think that's Boardman's just gone through. Boardman currently 4 temps up on his lap time, sort of hangs around there a bit. It's a bit difficult to tell how fast they're going through with the live delta through this sort of section of the track, because you can break a bit early or break a bit late and you end up with the delta going all over the place. But he's certainly comfortably positive on his delta at the minute. He's like nearly half a second up on his time, so we may see a massive lap improvement from Boardman at the minute. Sitting P3, so not exactly like he's far down the field at the minute.
That's it, only 2 tenths behind. And sorry for interrupting there. You see Boardman throw the car over the curb. And really going for it. Obviously, Boardman and Dauber have this little battle going on. We saw them like wheel to wheel in Kyalami, and Boardman fixing that mistake that they had on those final penultimate corners. And well, there we go, half a second ahead. But don't discount Dauber. Dauber also ahead. Was ahead. Of that time. They are ahead by like 3 tenths. So Dauber might even be able to close the gap just a little bit, but that gap has just extended compared to what it was just a moment ago with Raphael Huel in provisional pole. You see Dauber in the background about to cross the line. Is it going to be enough to improve? I'm not entirely certain on that. No, it's not, from the looks of things. That our Deltas hasn't updated. So yeah, that last lap was actually slower than their best. So they've got a little bit more work to do. Only time for maybe 1 or 2 laps more. So they best get right on it.
Indeed, it's 1 minute 37.3, the fastest lap time at the minute. So with 2 minutes 40 to go, you certainly got enough time to do at least 2 laps. Maybe a mistake is probably 1, but I think Dauber's had a bit of a moment on his last lap because his last lap was a 39.2, which is obviously about nearly like a second and a bit over his current best. So must have been a mistake by Dauber halfway through his lap, but. Boardman breaking even at the minute, Austin, and Huel about half a second down. I don't think there's any major improvers on the track at the minute.
No, I don't think so either. One thing to say, actually, looking at the Delta, Van der Wood, they're not in the pits, apparently. Are they somewhere out on track?
Good question. I think they're in the pit lane, so they're not technically breaking the rules, should we say. I think they're just not... It must be some sort of graphical glitch because they're definitely in pit lane.
That would make sense. That would make sense because I'm actually looking at the stream chat too, and the Fat Stig saying the Maserati's still going around. It's good to see you guys, by the way. Obviously in the chat. It's one of the reasons why I like the streaming because there's a little bit of interaction going on there. So yeah, no, the Maserati's still going around. I thought so too. That's that one cleared up. So
a graphical error, shall we say? As you see George McDonald, no, he's done a massive lap. He's like nearly 7 tenths up. Maybe not enough to get pole position, but certainly enough to put his car. He's done a bit wide. He's still improving on his time though, Austin.
He's
I think that's enough for P2.
I think the term for that one. I think the term for that one, Phil, is gunning it. That was going a little bit wide onto the grass, 2 wheels on, but yes, no, huge improvement. Ahead of Hull and Dauber as well. So. I'm kind of lost for words. That lap just came out of nowhere, but again, a little bit sideways there. It's one of those laps. You can just tell how hard the car is being pushed just from watching how watching the behaviour of the car through the corners and on the corner exits, and you can tell that is a car that is on the limit, and that was needed from McDonald because they were like kind of in the midfield of their class. That's brought them right up to P2 overall, and within a chance potentially to challenge Boardman.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, I was going to point out as well that these cars, not quite the GT3 equivalent, but they haven't got the aero kit, so they're probably, if anything, similar to a GT4 car in that regard. Maybe a bit more aero than a GT4 car, but certainly not the same as a GT3. So you can really notice it when you go through some of these fast corners that you just don't have the same sort of downforce generated like a normal Porsche does. But as we see McDonald now, I think I've seen. Yo go into the pits. McDonald breaking even at the minute with his lap time, so maybe there's some time to be gained. Maybe in the last corner, there's a bit of an oversteering moment. He's able to save it there. That's a pretty impressive catch there. Just has to be very careful with the throttle. I think he's going to go a bit. It's stable. I think we're going to see a lot of that in the race, Austin. People being very greedy with their throttle pedals.
Yeah, I think so too. Just trying to prioritise that exit and get on the power as soon as possible, but maybe too soon. Andy Boardman, again, trying to just improve on that time, trying to build a bit of a gap, although at this point it looks like, with the exception of maybe Huel, maybe that time is locked in. But any kind of security here is important, and that insecurity is exactly what Bodman will be looking for as they enter the final sector of the track in the final for closing corners. Coming through the hairpin, a little bit of oversteer. You see the opposite lock in the front wheels. Coming up to the penultimate corner now. Are they able to carry the speed to improve on this time?
We'll see. Just coming through the last two corners now. You just have to listen. Just a bit of gravel there, but he has to lift a bit for the final corner. I think he's understeering a bit. I think that's it for Boardman's lap and Huel as well, just behind. Oh! Well, that's what you get when you push a bit too hard there, Austin.
That's it. Another thing I want to just bear in mind as well, Raphael Huel coming across the line now. Will it be enough? No, that will be P3 too. So obviously that's your finishing order. Okay, cool. So going into the standings now. Sorry, there's Christian in my ears there, just with a little bit of direction. Just trying to keep the show on the road a little bit. So going into the standings now, the overall season championship in first place for the GT4. This is what the silver, but we were calling kind of like the pro class. We've got Christoph Verstappen in first place with 42 points, Marek Krejci with 34 points, Skrillex in P3 with 30 points, tied with Jordan Daly in P4. P5, we've got William Stevenson with 23 points, and John O'Razer trailing behind in P6 with 20, and everyone else below that, I believe, has signed out of the championship. Coming down into the AM class now, we've got Rudy Phil Malta in first place with 45 points, trailed by only 5 points in second place with Neil Pinlot. In third place, we've got Max Forster with 34 points, trailed again only by a few points by Mark Redford in P4. P5 and 6 equal on points. You got Les Stevenson and Tom Watts respectively, and again tying on 23 points, 7th and 8th respectively, Mitch Kester and Matthew Malcolm. And in P9, Andrew Harvey with 18 points, and in P10 we've got Sarah Stamp with 16. On top of that, we've also got Alexander van der Wood in the Maserati in P11 with 0 points.
Finally, we have the GT3 Cup class. Andy Boardman and Joe Dorber neck and neck at the minute, equal 45 points. George McDonald in the 66 is third place with 34 points. Jan Yo fourth with 30. Huel with 26 points is fifth. Andreas Vik Osland is sixth with 23 points. Mikael Nemzak and Daniel Montero equal seventh with 20 points a pair. And finally, Bernardo Texeria and Luke Brekmer are equal with 16 points in ninth place. And finally, just to finish off the standings, Victor Marcos and Matt Stevenson both on 0 points in 11th and 12th.
So we have it all to play for in I don't want to say the main championship, but the overall standings, all to play for between Boardman and Dorber. We saw them go wheel to wheel in the last round that we were able to actually catch, and these guys seem pretty evenly matched in the standings. Are really respective of that. Obviously, mandatory pit stop for this race too, having to take on at least 1 litre of fuel. This pit lane as well, Phil. Obviously, you've been in the stewarding box a fair bit. It's kind of a precarious one, isn't it? Because it's sort of just off to the side on the main straight, so it's kind of really scary if you're sort of slipstreaming someone who, might suddenly swerve into the pits. It could have a recipe for a little bit of trouble, right?
Maybe, yeah. One of my problems with this pit lane is not so much where it's located on the main straight, it's what side you're on. So when you come out of pit lane, you're pretty much blocking the apex of turn 1 for faster cars. That's not to say that you're in the way, of course, on purpose. I'm just saying, it's just awkward when you come out the pit lane and there's somebody there. One thing I want to bring up as well, Austin, while we talk about it, is I think a few drivers were sort of particularly in the Porsche Cup class, were not really dreading the prospect of lapping some of these GT4s today. Because obviously it's a bit tight, twisty track. I can probably count on with just my fingers on my right hand where you can overtake comfortably in a straight line with these GT4s. But yeah, so so one thing I would suggest for some of these Porsche Cup cars is probably pitting as you come up to the GT4 class, as we finally find Jesse Lee looking very serious in the.
There we go. We can't go a race without finding Jesse. And I see 3 Jessies in the background too. So again, not showing us the back of his head. So
No, that's the
Jesse,
family. That's his
Jesse,
family.
you need to come into the box right now and just show us the back of your head. I swear there's a Hitman tattoo. There has to be, or at least something embarrassing.
No, we said it's the. I thought we said it's the Matrix, like
Potentially,
cloak
but,
thing.
but,
Yeah,
but Jesse,
we're
what I
all
want.
living in the Jesse Lee Matrix.
That's it. But Jesse, what I want to know is who hurt you, and how can we help? Because because there's something not right with that stare, and I'm concerned for you as a co-worker and as a friend. So, oh, these out laps are always fun. These parade laps, and gives us chance to have a bit of a chat. You know.
Indeed, it's fairly well. I think Zandvoort's near the beach, isn't it, as well? Or at least
It is, yes. It's actually right on the beach itself. It's kind of cut within the dunes, and well, you know, maybe after the race, or maybe once, maybe if you have a bad race here, you can just go pick up a lilo and a blanket and go sit by the sea for a little while. I mean, weather's good for it actually. Speaking of the weather, it's 23 degrees air temp, 29 degrees track temp, and looking sunny for the next half hour. So, and a 0 km/h wind. So, yeah, it looked great day for racing. Optimum track too.
indeed, I don't think we're going to see that many. Should we say? I don't think Tom Bryant's made any merriment with the weather settings today. He probably did all of that last week for Imola by reading some of the drivers' chat about the weather. But excuse me, sorry. But I don't think we're going to see what we saw in Kyle Army, which was just a random 5-minute spot of rain, should we say? Certainly not around here. The track is more than difficult enough for multi-class racing as we see them all come up in double file now, I think. Well, certainly the Porsche Cup cars are just coming around in double file for the last corner.
That's it, and it looks like we're about to get this show on the road. And well, these moments, I said it before, they're always tense. Always tense because, you know, you don't know who's going to get a good start around you. You're focused on getting a good start yourself. You're trying to stay within the position. Obviously, the game gives you a speed marker to try and hit, and you know, to try and keep that formation going. As you see a few cars at the back there just bunching up a little bit as we're waiting for the green light. Boardman leading with McDonald. We are now green heading towards T1. Looks like Dorber got a bit of a bad start, and that is Jan Yeo going on the inside, actually looking on the inside of Raphael Huell. Gets pinned to the inside a little bit there. That will be Dorber taking.
Oh no!
I was going to say that's Dorber in second, but no, Dorber and Hull. Dorber and Huell making contact. Huell coming off worse for it though in the barrier. Dorber will rejoin in the pack of GT4s, and that is a little bit of a terrible start, to be fair. I mean, very lucky there wasn't more cars involved, but at the same time, given the championship fight, given the fact that Dorber is neck and neck with Boardman, who's currently, where is Boardman? Looking at the thing that the Delta's taking a moment.
P1.
Boardman was P1, is still P1. There we go. Sorry, there's a lot going on there, and as everything catches up with itself, the person comes off worse there is Raphael Huell, but that's a huge knock to Dorber's championship fight as they make contact yet again with Daly.
Yeah, I think Dorber's trying to get through this pack as much as he can. It's like, I mean, I was racing in the Wednesday Champ yesterday, and it's a bit like Oldham Park round here. You can't. It's so difficult to make these 100% clean moves sometimes. You may have a bit of bit of paint training there, but nothing so much from Joe Dorber there. I was about to say, at the start, Dorber had such a great move on Huell around the outside. Huell was too busy looking in his mirrors. He had Yo and Dorber either side of him. I think he was a bit unsure what to do about Yo just inside him, and Dorber took complete advantage of that. Had a bit of a compromised exit, and I don't really know if they just had some cross wires there, Austin, between Huell and Dorber.
I think so. I think from what I saw, Dorber was a little bit ahead, and Huell just kind of drifted a little bit to the left, hitting Dorber in the rear. Dorber diving into the pits too, so the 777, Dorber, that's Dorber in the pits, and they'll be taking their stop early and just trying to just make this one through. Pit window is open for another 56 minutes, so this does give them the chance to make up some of those positions and just go run for a longer stint. But no, it just looked like those wires just got a little bit crossed there, and you know, a little bit, maybe a lack of awareness from either one or both drivers. But you know, very slight contact. Looked like it could have been saved, but you know, it's just a shame, really.
Indeed, I will point out one thing which was pretty good, was pretty heads up driving from the rest of the pack to notice the incident on the right-hand side of the track, that could have turned into a bit more of an airplane crash rather than just a simple collision between two cars. I'm pretty sure Fuel and Dorber will probably say it's not a simple crash because they were involved in it. But yeah, as we move to Mitch Kester here, I think he's P3 in class at the minute. That's Tom Watts' Ginetta just ahead of him. As you mentioned at the top of the broadcast there, Austin, when we're talking about the Ginettas, fairly nimble car, fairly gentle on its tyres. I'd say not as gentle as that Alpine of Mike Redford behind. Obviously, that's one thing kind of like about GT4 racing and RCI is you have wildly different characteristics of some of these cars. Some of these cars so fast in a straight line, but sluggish through the corners, hard on the tyres. And then you have things like the BMW, for instance, and to an extent the Chevrolet. Chevrolet's not as fast in a straight line, though, but it's very heavy on its tyres, or it can be quite aggressive. And then you have things like the Alpine and the Ginetta, fairly nimble, not as fast in a straight line as some of the other GT4 brethren, but very gentle on the tyres. As we see Kester here I think he's got a bit of an overlap on Watts.
He's going for it under the brake. Sorry to interrupt you there, Phil.
That's all right.
He's got the inside going down into T1, slightly banked, and will use the power to try and just pull away from the Ginetta, and that will work. And that also puts Tom Watts under pressure from Redford behind as well in the Alpine. And well, no, you were saying before, these cars have very specific kind of areas of the track where they are stronger and weaker compared to the others. And this is a bit of a power section coming up here. This is where I'd expect the Camaro to start pulling ahead, and the Alpine to get the slipstream on the Ginetta a little bit. So Tom Watts in a really difficult position right now. Jan Yeo making a move for second place. Currently holds fastest lap of the race too. That put with the purple on the Delta to your left of your screen there. The Flying Hellfish car trying to get past McDonald, going down into the final couple of corners. But this fighting does mean that Boardman has an opportunity to pull away, as McDonald also has to go defensive to keep Yeo behind them.
Yeah, indeed. I was just about reacting to that in the background as you were commenting on Kirsten Watts. I think McDonald had a bit of a moment through the fast right-hander, which allowed Boardman to get away. I think McDonald, to be fair to him, was keeping Boardman honest with his pace at the minute. Not that he's not going to pull away now, but he's now got a bit of a needless problem. What now? He's got a Jan Yeo's 48 sticking in his rearview mirror there, Austin.
That's going to be on their mind. It's obviously a really hard situation to be in. And you've got Brokima, Raphael Huell, actually, despite the damage on the car, has pulled. Actually, Raphael Huell has gone into pits. So Brokima at the moment is where we're spectating. So they've caught up to the 50 of Montero. Yeah, that's the number 50, that yellow and black car ahead. And they are also fighting for P5. So, again, going back to Tom Watts as well.
But Mike Redford ahead of him.
That is Redford ahead of them. That is, don't feel you're entirely right. At some point, Redford has gotten past Tom Watts in the Alpine, and looking to challenge Kester in the Camaro.
Yeah, I think we're a bit of technical issues in the box. I mean, I'd love to go and see that pass from Redford or see what happened there. But Tom Watts, I think he was like P3 or P3 in class when we first tuned into him. So maybe we're giving Tom Watts' race a bit of a jinx in the minute. But Redford now P class. He's challenging Kester at the minute for P3. This is P3 as Redford goes over those curves a bit too aggressively. Probably followed that Camaro over the curves. One thing we should say about the Camaro, one of the advantages, of course, is that you can eat curbs in that thing. And he's got a bit wide there, and that's Tom Watts trying to come back on him. I think they're just side by side with it. On Tom
Watts going wide yet again as well. They're going just a little bit too deep. Not just allowing Tom Watts.
I think that's Rudy trying to overtake him,
opening the door. And not speaking of opening the door, that also means that Phil Malta's also squeezed on through too. Redford going offline again, and that is what looks like an Alpine teammate actually there with Malcolm. A little bit of a tag there. Not very, very lucky to not make contact. But yeah, one or two mistakes there from Redford, and it's cost them, well, like 3-4 positions. So yeah, that won't be the best circumstance for Redford.
I think that's pretty good from both of them there to just avoid an incident between Malcolm and and Redford. I think Malcolm just sensed a bit of an opportunity, more than entitled to go for that move if he felt it was on. But fair credit to both drivers there to avoid an incident. We now move to the battle for P1 in GT4 overall, I'd say, which is between Verstappen in the silver Camaro, followed by Spoda Skrillex in the green Camaro behind. I think they're lapping comfortably faster than Jordan Daly in the BMW 197, or at least they should be. I think Daly's just under a second behind. You can just about see that pink car there. I think John Razor's actually just ahead of them. Beg your pardon, but yeah. Certainly these two are going to keep each other honest for the next hour or so. But yeah, it should be fun.
Yeah, I'd say so too. I mean, obviously we had Skrillex, massively impressive in qualifying, was really kind of pushing for Verstappen as much as they could. And, you know, it's a bit of a highlight for us in the box watching. But again, in pure race pace, it just seems to be that they have the legs to keep up with Verstappen, which, you know, it's no easy feat. Verstappen is, well, I think the one word is just formidable, really. I mean, they've been sort of dominating the GT4 championship so far. So to keep them under this much pressure on a track that doesn't allow for many mistakes, nor, as you said, many overtaking opportunities, this might become a sprint race, but it might become a test of endurance more than anything.
Yeah, indeed. I think Zandvoort is one of those. Joe Dorber there just managing to get past Mike Redford on the inside. Yeah, bit of an elbow, but it's fair. You know, sometimes you have to not get your elbows out, but sometimes you sort of have to make that move. And, I think you was a bit in two minds there, Joe Dorber, as trying to overtake Tom Watts through Tarzan.
A little bit late and just losing time. I'm sorry for interrupting there, Phil. Obviously, I just want to point out really quick, Dorber obviously on that longer strategy too. They're all one of two cars. Raphael Fuel is also pit. Dorber is pit. So the two cars involved in that early incident, and obviously Dorber will be looking to go to the end of this race, I'd reckon, on this on this fuel load, on this set of tyres. So that is potentially might not be the heaviest car on the grid. Actually, I reckon they're all about equal. It was only a 1 litre stop requirement, but you know, trying to run to the end, trying to make use of some kind of undercut, has to make their way through the GT4 field as quickly as they can to catch up to the likes of Brokima, Montero and Osland. So there's not too much of a buffer there. So that mistake is going to cost Dorber quite a lot.
Indeed, I think, like I said, he was a bit hesitant trying to get past Tom Watts. I think he was sort of like, I'm going to dive him, and then, you know, you just sort of get to the braking zone, it's like, oh, I'm too far away, and then you just had to bail. I think it's just a complete bail of the incident. You'd rather just bail out of it than cause someone else's race to be in ruins with your with a bit of hesitancy. As we go back to this battle between Skrillex and Verstappen here, neither one is giving each other an inch of time to rest, and sometimes you just need that bit of time around Zandvoort. There's absolutely no place apart from just on the main straight to just take a breather. But, you know, coming to turn 1 Tarzan here. And just look how much getting
that tighter line might actually equate to a better exit. And yeah, no, as you're saying, they're very, very, very tight. I mean, there's not a whole lot. There's not a whole lot on a technical level that we could say that hasn't already been said. This is just two drivers doing what they do best, and well, you know, seeing good cars go wheel to wheel, it's only a matter of time until Skrillex is trying to find the opportunity to just force Verstappen into a mistake and just kind of just drain them mentally. You know, that mental fatigue really comes into play in these situations.
Yeah, indeed. I think I was going to say Verstappen's very experienced, very quick driver in his own right. So, you know, he's probably used to these sort of situations where he's got a car just parked on his rear bumper, as Skrillex is doing. Probably not the usual tactics of just squeezing the vice for a couple of laps and then just watching them fold to the pressure. Skrillex though probably has to just stay on him though. To be honest, there are times where you probably can push yourself a bit too hard and just applying pressure, and then obviously you lose time yourself as Dorber there makes his way past Van der Wood. And that is the battle for P3 overall, just ahead of him in GT4, beg your pardon, which is Jordan Daly and John Araser. Should get past Daly fairly comfortably into the penultimate corner now, as we may have a bit of a struggle getting past Araser before the start-finish straight. Yeah, indeed. Probably have to just wait until the nice...
that's going to cost...
Yeah, sorry, I was going to say, just have a have a much bigger straight line speed advantage. So just about to say, just wait till the main straight. You can overtake them very comfortably there. Very good from Joe Dorber.
That's it, but that's going to cost Dorber a lot of time. That Porsche is very quick through those final corners, so having to sit behind the GT4 in the dirt, yeah, it's going to cost a lot there. Jan Yo looking at giving McDonald a hard time as well for P2 overall. That'll be where Dorber is really, what was looking pretty solid for, really. Just to give an idea as to how far back they have dropped. But no, Jan Yo really, really chasing McDonald, just keeping them honest. Boardman 3.4 seconds ahead of McDonald. You see them in the distance there. So heading down towards T1, but this is where we are focusing our attention because, again, you're just you're fighting for the podium at this point. To find out to fight. I don't think any driver would be happy on the podium, but obviously the more spaces you can kind of make up, the better it will be. Switching back to Daly, who we saw catching up to a Razor there. Very close fight for P3, and looking in the back there, that's also Van der Wood in the Maserati. Different class coming in, but looking to join the fight there.
Indeed, you don't have to. Obviously all these cars aren't. So if Van der Wood does join this fight, they're not fighting for position, but they are certain they don't need to overtake them. But it's just for pride at that point. But you're not under any obligation not to join in the fight to finish the point. But yeah. The Razor and Daly keeping himself honest. We now move to Joe Dorber. I think that's Verstappen in front. I think he's probably had just a bit of a thing because I think Skrillex is just a bit further back than before. So maybe just a bit of a. And I think Skrillex is pitting. Skrillex is pitting from P2 in class. They're getting his pit stop done about a quarter of an hour into this race. So not early, but not exactly where I'd expect people to be pitting. But like I said, I'd expect. Well, I think McDonald's just had a bit of an issue for the little chicane there. He's had a bit of a moment as we see him go back to the right. But he's had a bit of a dive on Philmix. I think
that's a very late dive, very late on the brakes, and actually wound up in the gravel. Sorry, I was a little bit caught aside with a whole lot of stuff going on. But no, looking at the broadcast, that was Redford trying to make back some of those positions lost earlier in the race, just diving on the brakes a little bit too much, a little bit too late even. And winding up in the gravel and having to do all that work all over again. The thing I was actually looking at, Phil, with Skrillex coming in, looking at Dorber's already cleared the GT4 field. So maybe that's something that they've taken note of, and maybe that undercut, maybe there's something to it. Maybe that little bit of contact, it doesn't seem to have slowed Dorber down too much. Maybe that was a bit of a blessing in disguise as we see Redford going sideways, narrowly missing their, what appears to be their teammate. Yeah. And riding in the wall there, so just losing it over the crest and on the curb. Lots going on all at once.
And I think he's had and a bit of a brown trousers moment for George. I think that's George McDonald's purple Porsche would just so go past my Redford, or at least I think we did there. Oh, was it Boardman? Beg your pardon. Sorry, yes, I've just seen yes, there's a bit of a brown trousers moment for Andy Boardman there as he sees an Alpine rejoin the track. Not sure how much time and sight you have to see of that. We see Jan Yo come upon, with George McDowell, beg your pardon, come upon Mike Redford. That's a little Alpine just coming through the chicane now. So this may be a bit of a moment for some opportunistic moves, shall we say, Austin, if you can hit this traffic at the right moment.
If Jan Yo can actually keep this up, almost running into... Was there contact? I don't think there was, but very close. I believe that was Redford not happy about the situation there. A little flash of the lights. And, well, yeah, I mean... I'm not sure who to point the finger at there. It's not my place to say. That's one for the stewards. But no, you were saying before about traffic. We're getting to the point now in the race that we're seeing the cars start to mingle, and the first of the lappings are starting to happen. The GT car, the Porsche's catching up to the GT4 fields. And as you were saying there, Phil, traffic management is going to be so important. We've seen it so many times before where a race can be won or lost, and Boardman comfortably ahead at this point. Dorber, again, a driver like Dorber is able to take advantage of the traffic, overtaking, sort of just time the overtakes and time where you come across the slower cars to make it easier to get by and lose as little time as possible. And traffic in a way can almost be a tool if you're racing wheel to wheel. So this is going to be a bit of a wrench in the works for the likes of McDonald and Yeo.
Yeah, I'd certainly say so. It's all, as you say, it's all about traffic management at the minute. You obviously look at your relatives and go, right, I'm about, you do need to do wild maths in your heads, but you have a good idea of just how much time you gain on a GT4 per lap. You have an idea what lap you're going to be approaching them on, and as we move back to Van der Worde here, who's got like a front row seat of this battle for P2 or that's P3, beg your pardon, in overall as we watch. That's the Porsche of Raphael Huell there, overtaking Van der Worde. And I think that Daly's got a razor through Tarzan, just gives him a bit of a nudge. But probably some inconsequential contact there. And I think Huell's a bit too ambitious through just that turn 3 there to get Jordan Daly. Daly having none of that. You obviously go, you just wait, you just take your time, mate. You just take your time through there. But a bit of a scary moment for Huell, and certainly for John Araser, because I think that happened right in front of his bonnet there, Austin.
Yeah, I mean, that not an ideal situation at all by any means, and that corner it doesn't look so tight from the aerial view, but I can guarantee from the onboard, it's quite perilous really, and that curb is quite tall, you don't want to hit it. Huell lining up another overtake, thinking better of it this time, and finally making the move stick, and only a little bit behind. Actually, no, Dorber has actually crossed the line at this point, so Huell is about half a lap behind. So obviously the two cars involved in the early incident, Dorber took the undercut and pit pretty much straight away after on the same lap after the incident, and has pulled ahead by a certain amount. Huell might be carrying a bit more damage, so I don't know if that undercut has I don't know if staying out even has helped Huell in any way. Looking at standings, definitely doesn't seem like it has.
No, I was going to say, I think George McDonald's come into the pits and has completed his pit stop now. He's down in P5 at the minute, 9 seconds off the Porsche of Daniel Montero. He's got a couple of cars to overtake in the minute, but yes, we'll go back to Verstappen here. Just coming through the last couple of corners now. I think there's a bit of a sizable gap now to Skrillex, but I think half of that was some of that was probably down to traffic or better places to hit traffic. As we all know, multi-class racing, you're always going to lose time, but obviously some laps you lose more time than others. So yeah, but I think they're coming up to lap some GT3 cars, or certainly Verstappen is. I think that's oh no, they've actually they're pitted. They both pitted. Beg your pardon. They both pitted. So that's the Alpine of Malcolm there, just coming out of shot. So I think they're the only. There's 2 of us, Tom Watson, Mike Redford, who have also pitted. So 4 GT4s are pitted, and we have 3.5 because Vic Osland is now pitting. But we had 3 completed pit stops in the Cup class, and Vic Osland is completing his at the minute. Currently sitting in P3, I think.
That's it. Maybe there is something to this undercut, because Dorber, last time I saw on the Delta, it was 26 seconds behind McDonald, or 20-something seconds behind. Oh. So given, it sounds like a long time, but given how it's 25 seconds there, so bear in mind McDonald was on the podium. So 25 seconds behind, given from how far back Dorber came, legitimate. This might be the faster way. Obviously, we're not halfway through the race yet, and a lot, I'd say half, if not the majority of cars have come in for the stop. We've spoken about it a lot, but this strategy seems like getting the stop out of the way sooner rather than later, prolong the time you have before you hit traffic, and just try to find a gap of clear air, as we see Van der Woerde trying to overtake Araser. But on the other hand, I believe that's also, is that McDonald? That's McDonald going around the side as well, just nice and clean. Araser going defensive on the inside, and I don't think that's going to give much of an opportunity for Van der Woerde to get through. Gets the later apex, the better exit through, closes the gap in yet again, going down into I believe this is T2 overall, going into T3, and that isn't really an overtaking opportunity, and that will be Van der Woerde still fighting for that position.
I was just about to say, that's Andy Boardman's purple Porsche there. Just had a bit of a moment with the BMW Jordan Daly there, trying to lap him. I think a bit of a miscommunication there. Daly moving to the left after that little hairpin to let Boardman through. Obviously, Boardman with good reason, not quite expecting a car to move off the racing line for him. But no dramas there, as Van der Woerde here still comfortably about 12.5 seconds faster than, or ahead, beg your pardon, of the net car in class, which is a 99 of Kester. But as we said before, there's no reason for them not to be fighting Eraser in front, and they can more than happy, if they think they're faster than Eraser, they're more than happy to race them for position overall as well. There's no extra points for Van der Werder to get past, but we're not going to deny people fun, are we, Austin, around here?
No, I don't think so at all. And as you say, it's a measurement of pride as well. And with consistent results like that, this is how you get better at the game. We see people climb through the ranks, and that's one of the best thing. Sorry, choking off my own words there a little bit. But that, in my opinion, is the best thing about this style of racing, in that anyone can really sort of just jump in the dirt, and that'll be a razor pitting. And you see what I mean, though, Phil? This is what I mean. This is the concern I brought up at the start. You've got cars that just suddenly pull off the line to dive into the pits, and there's a chance it can catch you out. And so, I doubt, I'm not sure if we'll see a collision due to that, but it's more than possible.
I think one of the things to point out is obviously for Eraser there, which was some good heads-up driving, was just moving off the racing line quite quickly, moving into the pit lane when they could, and some pretty decent heads-up driving there to signal that without much of a signal actually, but some pretty good driving there to make sure of at least they're pretty obviously going into pit lane. As Jan Yo there, fairly clean lapping of Van der Werder there. Yo's currently running P2. Yet to pit. He's still got George McDonald behind him, but I think Yo's probably trying to go for the overcut on McDonald at the minute, Austin.
Yeah, I mean, looking at things, the 48, do they have clear air ahead of them? I believe they do for the time being, so it doesn't really make much sense to pit until they hit traffic, really. I mean, if you've got clear air, you may as well use it, and that is how Boardman has pulled up such a lead as well. He's just really not been challenged. Skrillex still on the back of Verstappen after the stops. Within striking distance potentially, as we say that a little bit of commentator's curse, going slightly wide there, catching up to the back of Phil Malta, who has yet to make their stop. So these three AM class cars coming up ahead, they are yet to make their stops, and currently being caught by the leaders of the GT4s.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure. Phil Malta's not the sort of person to get too involved in a scrap when he doesn't need to be racing them, but he's more than entitled to be in that position if he wants to. Maybe racing someone else who has pitted, so obviously less time he has to give up, the better. But I think with these two, they probably just need to get past Phil Malta with as little fuss as possible of Phil Malta there into pit lane to serve his mandatory stop and releases Skrillex and Verstappen as they now go after. You can just about see there was a bit of little orange Chevy that just went past to the top of Tarzan. You can just about see him there. That is the next car up on the road, which is the Chevrolet of Mitch Kester, and then Van der Werder a sizable distance past them in P8, who is yet to stop as well.
That's it, and now these guys have a little bit more clear air, gives them more chance to fight. But speaking of fighting, I believe that is that's Boardman coming up behind, right? That's Boardman catching. No, that's McDonald. But both are purple Porsches, and it's kind of difficult to keep track. Sometimes purple with the purple and green, but that'll be I believe Skrillex there just letting McDonald through. There's no point in holding up too much, and there we go. A little bit dicey there going into the second one of those corners. That was McDonald backing out. Skrillex almost catching up again, and McDonald having to do the work all over again to get past Verstappen.
Yeah, I think we've mentioned this before when we saw Mike Redford, when he had a bit of a Porsche, just didn't have any contact, but I think he just went a bit too hot into the penultimate corner, and I think probably Verstappen saw a bit of that with George McDonald. It's a bit distracting sometimes, isn't it, when you're a lower class car and you just see the faster class come up behind you, and they're just coming a bit too fast into a braking zone. It's a bit distracting there as we move on to Joe Dorber now. That is Daniel Montero ahead of him in the 50. This is for position, and they have both pitted, so Dorber here with a bit of a mountain to climb, should we say, after his first lap incident with Huel. But he's doing a pretty neat job at the minute. I don't think we've had any other major dramas from Dorber at the minute. So
that's it. Dorber's just kind of had a bit of a shaky start, but keeping it clean. But you say a bit of a mountain to climb there, Phil. I mean, it feels like a fairly long race so far. I don't know about you guys, but for me, it feels like a fairly long race so far. But we're not even halfway through as of yet. With 32 minutes, I think that might be Montiero trying to break the slipstream and maybe kind of, I just don't see why they would fake out a pit stop, and that would be
Oh,
Montiero going slightly wide. Dauber able to avoid the contact, and that would be Montiero losing time, getting on the power just a little bit too soon. Dauber backing way far out, backing out way before the corner there. That curb, as we saw before, is a little bit lethal. Montiero also kind of overcompensating a little bit, allowing Dauber through on the inside, and that will be Dauber through into P5. But as we were saying before, Phil, we're not even halfway through this race, and Dauber's caught up to the main pack and is only 10 seconds behind Vic Osland. So as far as a damage control plan goes, Dauber's done an amazing job so far.
yeah, it's been a pretty good race so far, as we said. Kept it clean. Been fairly good with his traffic management as well. But yeah, he's lapping in the what's that? Well, I mean, his last lap was a 40.1, but we can attribute that down to sitting in traffic. I think as we move to Skrillex and Verstappen again, I think these two might as well just put some string or something with these two. They're just attached to each other at the minute, Austin.
Yeah, I mean, half an hour of just fighting it through, and these guys have been bumper to bumper for a long time. This is actually the furthest apart I think we've seen them for a fair while, and that's only because of the 66 of McDonald coming through. And I think Verstappen actually gained a little bit of time through that little kerfuffle that happened there. But I don't think it'll last for too long. As Skrillex really hot down there into Tarzan, almost making contact with Verstappen, and maybe a touch desperate. I mean, these cars, the ABS systems, they're more akin to the road car versions, where it's not really a race car system, so to speak. A lot of these cars are using a very slightly modified ABS system to the road car, so any amount of steering input can affect the effectiveness of the brakes, because the engine detects a lockup and just kind of releases the brakes and doesn't give you 100% pressure. And maybe that might be a sign that Skrillex is under intense kind of mental pressure from Verstappen, just from them standing their ground.
Yeah, I'd say though that for as we said before, Verstappen, you're probably only going to get one little mistake out of Verstappen a race, to be honest. I think Skrillex needs to be where he is, just ready to pounce on that mistake, or at least, put him under even more pressure if he does make a mistake, because obviously one mistake may lead to another. But yeah, just had the pain to say we're halfway through now. We have Yo's pitting at the minute. I think apart from Yo, Boardman and Van der Wood still need to pit still, and then we have a decent amount. I don't think anybody's pitted for tyres though. I think everyone's just taken on the 1 litre of fuel requirement.
Year pitting is actually fairly significant, because obviously that fight between themselves and McDonald was kind of huge. McDonald on our screens there, 21 seconds behind. You see you're in the pits there too. I'm not entirely certain where McDonald is. I'd imagine they've gone through. Is
he repairing for damage?
But potentially they've been stood in that box for a long time now, and from what I saw, they were quite far ahead. We'll have to see when the timing updates. We'll find out. Yeah, McDonald has in fact gone through, so that theory, that gut feeling is confirmed. So either Yeo, as you say, Phil, stop for damage, or maybe that undercut from McDonald. Maybe that undercut from McDonald was more powerful than we thought.
And Christian's just spotted as well, Austin. Joe Dorber, that's him just there. It's just gone out your screen, is overtaking Yo as well. So must have been a fairly slow pit stop. I don't know how fast how slow his pit stop was compared to everyone else, but he's a good at least 27-ish seconds, maybe more behind behind McDonald now. So maybe Yo's changed some tyres, so presumably. I don't think he's been in an incident that would have required him to change or to repair damage for in excess of 20 seconds.
I don't think so either. Could it be that Yo was actually running a fairly light car, and and that was a contributing factor to their pace? It's an interesting strategy, to try and get a bit of a run on the first stint. I mean, the car's only been running for half an hour, so who knows what the fuel level in that car is? Well, I suppose the only person that knows is Jan Yo. So no, as you're saying, Dorber squeezing their way through and making their way through whilst Yo was in the pits. That does mean that they're not that far off a podium. Given that first lap, and given how much work Joe has put in, Joe's looking at a potential podium. If they can keep, it's still 27 minutes left, so plenty of time to make up that space. This is actually kind of incredible.
Yeah, he's about, as Christine was just saying in our ears, and he's about a second a lap faster than Vic Osland. Last lap for Vic Osland was a 40.9. And then, but he was stuck in traffic that lap. He did lap Verstappen and Skrillex last lap. So, well, it's a bit difficult to tell sometimes in multi-class races if the car was just having a slow lap through driver error or car issues, or whether they just got stuck in traffic. Torber's going to be hitting these two this lap, I'd say. As so it should be a fairly close race to the end. What's that, 27 minutes to go? I'm trying to work out in my head how many laps there is now. So, well, I'm going to go with 15, 17 laps to the end, Austin, on my rather dodgy Jesse Lee calculator mathematics.
That makes sense, and here we are. This is the moment a lot of drivers have been dreading, just especially catching a fight that's not the best sort of circumstances to what to do. And that would be Dorber just trying to clear them both all in one move. And that would be Dorber hitting the inside curve, going side by side with Verstappen and forcing to take the outside line of the hairpin. But obviously that Porsche just being a lot quicker than the thing. But Jan Year also getting involved as well, hitting the inside. That will force Verstappen offline. That will be news. That would be news to Skrillex's eyes, to be fair. And well, there we go. That's the car's cleared, and the gap between Skrillex and Verstappen decreased just by a touch. And well, yeah, just by a touch. Also, half a tenth of a second difference between the two now, or half a tenth of a second closer to Verstappen, and Verstappen going slightly wide through Tarzan too. So maybe a little bit shaken by the two Porsches coming through.
Yeah, maybe a bit, because I think he's got a bit of a respite now. Actually, no, he's still got Montero this lap. Stand corrected, sorry. So he's probably gonna have another Porsche this lap. But as we see Jordan Daly, and is that John Eraser? I think John Eraser's jumped him in the pit lane.
Yes,
because I think Daly and Eraser just came to the pits together. So either Eraser's jumped, and we had a yellow flag for the fast price ender. Van der Wood.
That's the first.
Van der Wood on the
Van der Wood in the Maserati.
I think they've had technical issues or something to be parked up there.
Yeah, that doesn't look like an incident at all. That just looks like it's been parked. It's nowhere near as far in the gravel as we'd expect with an incident at all. So I guess we'll find out as soon as we can. Yellow flags, again, if a car just misses its braking point, that Maserati is in a very precarious position potentially. Jordan Daly again on the back of a Razor. Again, another fight that's been going on for most of this race. Raphael Huel coming up behind as well, making a move on the inside, and I think Daly knows a bit better than just to turn in, but letting Raphael Huel through, but that will increase the gap between themselves and a Razor, and they'll be hoping that Huel can hold a Razor up too going into this next corner.
I think Huel's going to be overtaking Eraser fairly comfortably there through the, I'm going to call it the chicane. I've been calling it the chicane for the whole race anyway, so. But yeah, it's not really done Jordan Daly any favours really with his fight with Eraser, but I think Daly's a bit faster than Eraser on merit of what we've had so far this race. But again, I think he just needs a bit more luck with this traffic, as he'll probably may get one next lap. Andy Boardman's about 7 seconds behind this pair, so he may hit these two as they come through the final corner in about a lap's time.
And that is true, and these guys just cannot catch a break, and fighting for fairly high up in the position. And speaking of fighting, that's Yang Yo on the back of Dorber. Obviously, again, another theory as well is if Yeo has changed tyres, that means that Yeo's on much fresher tyres than Dorber here as well. So, I mean, it won't stay that way for long if Yeo keeps having oversteer like that, but it's keeping Dorber honest.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, I have a slight suspicion that Yeo's changed tyre. Oh, and I think he just squeezed him a bit, but he's left him enough room to come through. At least come through on the outside there. Dorber fought, but Yeo's had a bit of a spin on his own. Oh, goodness me. What's happening here? Come on, boys. Let's keep these cars under control.
I think
Yeo just struggling a bit there, Austin, I think.
Yeah, and Yeo been punching well above their weight for this, running with drivers, we haven't really seen them run with before. Having a great race. And with that, obviously these guys they are maybe a touch more aggressive, as we see Daly just try to look on the inside, but not really able to make anything of it. With I believe that's Boardman behind in the rearview mirror there as well. So the overall leader of the race still yet to pit too. But no, in terms of coming up against drivers such as coming up against drivers such as Dorby, who are incredibly quick, very well seasoned racers. These guys,
he's got the run. He's got the run.
Yeah, that's it. These guys are going to hold on to it with as much as they have. Daly not quite able to capitalize on that final corner, but maybe being caught out by a slight slight differences in racecraft there.
Yeah, I think Daly probably did have the run, but I think the run was a bit too good for him, if that makes sense, through that final corner. Your racers had to lift so much to let the charging Boardman through on the inside for the last corner, and Daly's probably just not expected him to lift as much as he did, had to compromise his own exit through that corner, and that just played into John Race's hands. But again, we should see a few of these, I think. Let's have a look and see who's just behind.
Skrillex and Verstappen very close together.
Yeah, Skrillex and these two, again, they're like on top the string. I think these two are like super glued. So then Verstappen's just gotten up a bit. That's the little mistake we were talking about before. But I think Skrillex may have the switch back on him.
Yeah, they might have the run here. They're able to get on the power a lot sooner, and it's going to be a drag race down to the final complex. And it's going to be a bit of a switchback, really. Verstappen's going to have the inside going into this line, but maybe if Skrillex can... Verstappen able to take the title line and keep the inside to both.
Behind.
And that's Raphael Kuhl behind as well. They'll be looking to make their way through and to lose as little time as possible. And at this point in time, maybe it's an opportunity for Skrillex just to kind of let Kuhl through and lose as little time as possible. But that has not helped them at all. And that is Yeo, who has also passed Dorber. So whatever's happened in the time we've looked away, obviously that's a fairly significant gap too. So I don't know if Dorber's made a mistake, but according to Christian, we've got in our ears, apparently there was contact somewhere. So it's a bit of a step back there for Dorber in trying to chase down Vic Osland. But in the same way, if Yeo's lapping faster, this maybe gives Dorber the clear air to try and catch down the cars ahead that are maybe still running on those older tyres.
I am more convinced that Yo has got new tyres or something. His last lap was a 38.4, and then you look at Vic. Dorber's.
Oh no!
I think that's Dorber's. Dorber must have some sort of technical issues or something. Just parked up on the side of the track there, Austin.
Yeah, that's a disconnect too. That's a complete disconnect. I don't know if there was contact big enough that damaged Dorber's car enough that it wasn't economical to pit. Obviously, Dorber, fighting for a championship here at the end of the day. Obviously, level on points with Boardman in the grand scheme of things. As Christian in our ears says, not anymore, and that's a huge shame. No, level with Boardman and Boardman getting another win on the board. Obviously. Yeah, that's not great for Dorber's championship hopes.
No, Andy Boardman there, still the only man not to have pitted as we go back. You know what? I'm getting, I was nearly about to say getting bored of seeing these two on the stream, but these two have been putting on a great show so far. Never left. I think the gap's only gone up to about 1.5 at any point. This has been some exemplary racing from the pair, to be honest. To just keep them honest. And here comes Andy Boardman. I think he should comfortably clear these two. Or certainly clear Skrillex before Tarzan for T1. A little bit of an indicator there. Maybe a bit touch and go, but he should get them. I think Verstappen's just constantly looking in his rearview mirrors and
this might actually slow Verstappen. That was a bit of a late dive, and this might slow Verstappen up a little bit, having to alter their line. And as you can see there, that's Skrillex right on the back of Verstappen once again. And, overall, I'm not sure who's been the fastest driver in terms of pace between these two. I think it's been pretty evenly matched. Oh, that was also Skrillex getting caught out a little bit there. It looks like Verstappen broke a little bit before them, and Skrillex not quite expecting it. Almost, having to take evasive action there to avoid running into the back of Verstappen. But no, these two Camaros have been putting in work for all of this race so far. We're about 42 minutes in, we're about to tick down into, and these guys, as you say, have not been anything more than a second and a half second and a half apart. So, this is very, very tight racing. And I've been in these races, sorts of races before, and it's at this point you start becoming tired. You start having to think about where your braking points are. You don't want to hit the car ahead of you. If you have the car ahead, you don't want to give the car behind you an opportunity. You don't want to make a mistake, and this is where it becomes incredibly tiring.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's for some people it's probably going to get really tiring, but I think sadly for George McDonald, the rivals he's racing are either 20 seconds back or he's pulling away from in the form of Big Costland. Does he really need to take that many risky maneuvers there? You could see him go for the complex up to the Churches have just come off the track. Oh, and he's nearly collected McDonald there. I'm not sure what McDonald's reaction is in the car, but it'll probably be like, what on earth is going on behind me with that Chevrolet?
I think relief is the feeling right now. Relief is the emotion of trying to have it, obviously just clearing that gap. But no, a very lonely race, I think, for McDonald. But then again, Yeo has an opportunity now to catch up, and I believe that is Osland right ahead of them. So if Yeo is on fresh tyres, then this might be an opportunity. Whatever contact has happened between themselves and Dobb, it hasn't seemed to have slowed them down too much. I think we can see a little bit of damage on the front end of that Porsche. So I suppose we'll find out in due time what actually happened between the pair. But at the end of the day, the current race here and now is between Yeo and Osland for third place, and this is the position Yeo was in before their stop. So, it's only a matter of time, I think, with 16 minutes remaining, that Yeo was able to make that opportunity stick.
Yeah, I think looking at the pace difference between these two cars, we'll probably see Yeo overtake Vic Osland maybe in the next lap or so. I think George McDonald is a bit too far away. He's about 21-ish seconds ahead of Vic Osland at the minute, so we're probably not going to see a challenge for second place. Maybe with a bit of mistake here. We've certainly seen enough of that today from both of them. But Vic Osland's had a bit of a poor exit for the final turn. I think Yeo's going to go for it through Tarzan.
Sticking on the inside line, just trying to make something of it, getting on the power a little bit better, and that will be the opportunity. There we go. That's the advantage of new tires. That is what can happen. There we go. It's straight away. As soon as Yeo's in front, you can see how quick of a car that still is. How much of a difference those tires make. And I'm gonna put money on it at this point there, Phil. I'm gonna say that Yeo has taken fresh tires on board, or at least is running a lighter car, because the pace on that Porsche is unlike anything we've seen from the pack around them so far, and that will be them back on the podium. Skrillex still chasing down Verstappen down into P1 into T1. The gap not really have increased or decreased, but at the same time, Skrillex still within striking distance, and Verstappen fully aware that they are not able to make a single mistake right now.
Yeah, I was gonna keep my eye on Yan Yeo through the final bits of the race. Now we've got just under quarter now to go. Now move to, as you say, Skrillex and Verstappen. Neither of these two really letting each other go, as Skrillex now pretty much parked his front bumper just inside of Verstappen's rear one. So yeah, he's probably just going, can you just go away at the minute? I'm just trying to do my race. I've got this green Chevrolet that just fills up my rear view mirror at the minute. So and a little bit of I thought he was going to go for a move and a bit ambitious through some of this fast complexes now, as we go through another little right-left section at Zandvoort. I think he's about second gear in these cars. And I'm not sure that was a bit of a touch. If there was a touch, I don't think there was a touch, but if there was, it must have been ever slight touch. But yeah, this is getting a bit too hot at the minute, I think, Austin.
Maybe. I don't think it was a touch there, Phil. I think it was more a reminder that Skrillex is still there. I mean, in the closing stages of this race, 13 minutes remaining, Skrillex basically telling Verstappen, I'm not going to take this easy. These last 10 minutes, we might see a ramp up in the aggression between these two drivers, and that could end in tears, which should be a shame to see. These guys have gone so clean for so long. Skrillex running a little bit wide on the exit there, but losing a little bit of time actually. That gap definitely increasing on their own accord, but I can imagine we'll close right up again. There we go. So yeah, these guys really keep each other on their toes and getting maybe a little bit desperate at this point.
Yeah, maybe I think desperate, probably not quite there yet. I think we've got at least maybe about 9 laps to go, I'd say, as Yan Yeo now catches up to Kester and Watts there in the Chevrolet and Ginetta respectively. I think he should be able to clear both of them before the penultimate turn. Very comfortable. I think Kester there. I think he's tapped him. I think he's not. I think Kester has not quite anticipated that. And I think that's. Is that What a Porsche is that there? There's Big Austin there just coming across a mess just through the penultimate corner there. But yeah, just going back to that point, Austin, I think Castor didn't quite anticipate that Watts would be had to slow down to let Yo through there. So bit of a miscommunication, an honest mistake there, I think, from Castor. But yeah, Yo's still on a charge. He's about 17.5 seconds behind McDonald now. So it should be fairly tasty towards the end of the race, I'd say.
That's it. I mean, looking at the 48 on track has clear air ahead of them, actually. So, yeah, if you're able to take advantage of that and just kind of put in the lap times and, within 10 minutes, that's more than doable to actually do, especially when that car's running as quick as it is. Skrillex, again, so close to Verstappen coming into the final couple of corners. If you guys have echoed it in the chat, this has been a great battle so far, and I mean, I have to agree. This is why we do this kind of racing. It's exhausting. It's exhausting to watch. It must be exhausting in the cars, but it's amazing to see.
Yeah, oh, he's got a bit deep. I think Skrillex nearly collects him, but yeah, probably some of these guys. I think Skrillex is a very, very experienced and very fast driver, so he probably anticipated that Verstappen going a bit deep would come across him a bit fast there. Great driving to just avoid any contact, but very, very close still. I mean, it feels like we're doing like a 15-minute sprint the way these guys are driving at the minute, but yeah, just over 11 minutes to go now. Probably about 7 laps to go, I'd say. So still plenty of time, but yeah, that clock's still ticking down, Austin.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, final 11 minutes going to the final 10 minutes. And, some of these guys still running wheel to wheel at the end of an hour. So, yeah, I mean, it's all to play for. It's all still like early season, so still points on, points to go. So, do the championships to decide, and later on the race is starting to become. There's also less time to make mistakes later on. So, you want to accumulate as many points as you can at this stage. So yeah, these guys, you might see a ramp up in aggression, as we've said, especially as kind of mental fatigue sets in. But at the same time, it also feels like things are settling down a little bit. The big battle's going on. We've seen a Razor and Daly so close, and they've kind of spaced out a bit. The big one, obviously, being Skrillex and Verstappen, which has been entertainment throughout the race. Yeah, other than that, everything seems like on a bit of a slow burn. Gio has 15 seconds to make up to McDonald, and that's, we'll find that one out in due time. So really, the big race is right here with these guys.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Yo's, if we're going on to that one now, we're going to find out their lap times in about 15 seconds time, I'd say, as Yo just had a bit of a moan for the last 2 corners. Going back to these two, though, as we said, I don't really know. I think we're running out of expletives. I'm trying to think of the right word now, not expletives. Compliments, or I'm trying to think of the right word now, Austin. It's somewhere down that tree, but yeah, we're probably running out of words to say about the racecraft that these two are putting on show at the minute. Some great exemplary driving. Skrillex there has a bit of I think he's just had a bit of a lag spike there, just a bit jumpy, but nothing too dramatic, of course. But yeah, going through this little complex right-left here, and I think Verstappen just goes a bit wide again on the same bit of grass he went wide on a few laps ago. As I think he's had a bit of an oversteering moment at the exit. This should give Skrillex a chance.
This could be it.
He's just defending the inside line. He has to try and brake at the same point, because all that's going to happen is if he doesn't brake, is that Verstappen's going to try and turn across him.
Verstappen can't take that inside line again. I'm sorry to cut you off there, Phil. Sorry for cutting you off there. Right. That was pretty spicy, and we saw Verstappen make a mistake there later on, but it goes to show this battle is potentially starting to get him. See a little lick of flame coming out the back of the Camaro there, along with running wide. So yeah, no, this battle is starting to get really interesting. 8 minutes left to go. Verstappen getting really defensive now, trying to break the slipstream, and we haven't really seen them do that before up until this point. But 8 minutes ago, they really, really, really want that 200 off their tail and just have a little bit of breathing space for the rest of this race. And that is a sign that shows that maybe at this point, Verstappen in that number 7 is starting to break.
We'll see about that one. He's got about 5 laps to go. Maybe I'm going to call it about 5-6 laps to go now. I'm not sure that. I'm not sure if I'm going to be anywhere consistent with my maths on that one, but certainly around that area there. So he's just got to count those laps down now. He is in the top position. You don't get any more points for defending, any more better than you do. He's just got to keep that car on the black stuff. Zandvoort isn't really known for a track where you can overtake fairly decently on. So long as he just keeps that car on the straight and narrow, on the black stuff, he should be okay, I think, Austin.
I think that will be the case as well. I fully agree there, Phil. I mean, looking at Skrillex now, this is where Verstappen's made this mistake twice over, and they'll be, I'm sure, certain to make sure they don't make it again. Verstappen running slightly wide, though. They're really, really, really pushing that car for all that it's worth, and I think actually paid off for them a little bit of a gap being made, and well, yeah, I mean, it's just hanging on to that first place in class. I mean, is it going to stay that way? Like, obviously, we have six and a half minutes remaining. Anything can happen in that amount of time.
Yeah, anything can happen, as you say. I think, to be honest, as we said before, it's going to be the first person that cracks. And Verstappen's gone really wide through the last turn.
I was going to say,
Skrillex. Yeah, not sure how much, what do you call it, like straight line speed he's also not that much, but so risky in these cars, just going so wide. Yeah,
I think both of them compromised. Both of them are really pushing each other to within an inch of what it's worth. And no, Skrillex running slightly wide there might have actually cost them enough speed that it kept Verstappen in the lead there. But I mean, who's to say? It's still all in it. 6 minutes remaining. Going to Mitch Castor on the back of Tom Watts, going down into the braking zone. This little section, the Ginetta you'd think would be the quicker car in this, but coming onto sorry, let me rephrase that. The Ginetta you'd think would be the quicker car in this little sequence of corners, but from here on out all the way through to T1, this is a power section of the course, and that is going to work in the Camaro's favour, especially with the slipstream down the start finish. And maybe Kester is close enough to make a move and make it stick for the final place on the podium for third place in the AM championship for the GT4 class, but they're not close enough to make it stick.
Yeah, I was going to say one of the things about the Ginetta as well. It may not be fast through the final sector, but one of the advantages you do have is that you can, because I think these GT4s just have to give a bit of a lift through that last turn to try and make it because of the lack of aero. But I think the Ginetta just has that little bit more of an aero advantage. You can run this car a lot lower than certainly that Camaro. It's like like it's running on stilts or something like that. It's so huge and such a massive ride height. So obviously you can run over curves, but you do lose that cornering speed advantage that the Ginetta has. But yeah, one of the things is even though you don't have as much straight line speed as the Ginetta, you can carry that speed through the corner so much easily. As we move to Huel and Daniel Montero there. This is for P5 in the Porsche class at the minute. Huel here, I'd say finally, but recovered fairly decently from his first lap incident to come up to the back of the pack. I think he needs to bridge a fair bit of a gap if he does get past Montero to Vic Osland, who is about 20 seconds ahead of this duo here. Vic Osland we'll talk about lonely races. I think after Yo's passed him, I think Vic Osland's also run a fairly lonely race in P4 there, Austin.
Yeah, I mean, end of the day, that early contact really kind of affected their race in terms of having to cut through traffic, and whilst it's all still bunched up, at the start, and obviously they ran a little bit before stopping as well. So who knows what damage that they were also carrying and how much time they lost. So yeah, no, with as you say, Osland as well, not really quite able to keep up with the fight with McDonald and Yeo. So yeah, no, fairly lonely race, but able to, it's certainly not lonely now with Raphael right behind, and looking a little bit dicey. It's Osland braking. Yeah, very very different line coming over the hill there, and Osland braking. So Christian may just saying, just send it.
Yes. Well, he's not the one driving these cars, is he, Austin? So of course he's gonna be the voice of chaos for some of these drivers. He's a bit like that I'm not sure if you've seen those cartoons where there's like a little angel on one shoulder and a devil on the other. I reckon Christian's that devil on these drivers' shoulders sometimes. Just tell him to send it.
I think Christian's just sat there like constantly licking a post stamp. Let's be completely honest.
Yeah. But yeah, as we see, Huel's had a bit of a moment going over those curbs there, Austin. Obviously, we're talking about these cars being a bit unstable. You're probably not going to do your car any favors going over the curbs like that.
No, not at all. And obviously the GT3s, even the Cup cars, they're a little, they're a whole lot more rigid. So you might have seen the GT4s take curbs like that, but they are a lot softer of a car, so they are able to take these corners at those kinds of speeds. And hit the curbs. Speaking of curbs, you see both of those guys just running on the outside curb there. The Porsches, they can't do that. not realistically.
Oh no!
And yeah, the outside camera can be a bit misleading. It did look like Skrillex was going to run into the back of Verstappen. Verstappen on a bit of an odd line there, having to tuck tight on the inside and going defensive once again. We've seen this so many times in the past. And that is that's Skrillex with a slightly wider line and potentially has a better exit. And looking at the inside and looking at making a move. Brakes early though, tries to avoid running into the back of Verstappen and lining up for another attempt. And with a minute and a half remaining, this is the final laps. And this is the only opportunity they're going to have. Verstappen running wide. And this is the running out of opportunities to find a way through for that class win. Almost making contact again into the penultimate corner. And as I said, running out of opportunities to make this happen.
And that's Yan Yo right behind these two now. You can just about see him in that rear view mirror. Obviously, objects look a lot bigger than they actually are in that mirror. But yeah, as Yo now, he's not. I don't think he's going to dive Verstappen into turn one, but Verstappen's left him a little bit of a gap.
Verstappen wide.
I think Verstappen's had a bit. I think Verstappen saw him coming and just left him that gap there. But Skrillex probably not close enough. I think looking at where is Andy Boardman at the minute, because let's just have a bit of a lap update, because I think Boardman is. Yeah, we should comfortably have another lap after this one, looking at where Boardman is on track, unless he decides to slow down at the finish line. But hopefully we get another lap, because this is some fantastic racing, Austin.
Yeah, this is why we do this. Like this is amazing. I threw out an hour, 20 seconds remaining on the official clock. As you say, though, we should have another lap given Boardman's position. Obviously, the race will officially end when all depends on the leader's position. But no, that's Skrillex going slightly deep, making a bit of a mistake there, or maybe trying to avoid contact. Maybe again, as we talked about the ABS before, a slight bit of steering input can mess up the braking a little bit, and that will be Skrillex falling behind. The race timer just ticking down there, so the race will end depending on when Boardman finishes this lap, and I'm not entirely certain where they are. It'll be on the track map somewhere. They'll be coming down into one of the back corners there. Raphael Huel sideways. A lot going on this final lap.
Yeah, I think we're going to get a bit lost with who to follow at the minute. So if we do miss something, we do have to apologise. But there is just too much going on track at the minute. Trying to follow Huel and Montero. There's obviously Skrillex and Verstappen, which we've been watching like a bit like a microscope at the minute. As Huel. Well, I think he had a bit of a think about going into the chicane there, but yeah, he's still. But Montero's had a bit of a spin. Oh. I think Huel's actually taking it some fantastic.
That was a send.
Opportunistic driving from Huel there. Montero had a bit of a moment coming out the exit of the chicane, and Huel just said thank you very much as we come now to Skrillex and Verstappen, Austin.
Yeah, that was Raphael Huel just taking driving lessons from Christian School of Motoring. He's been sat here saying send it this entire time, shouting in my ear right now. And that was Raphael Huel taking a bit of inspiration there from Christian. I'm not certain if you guys have communication right now, but it certainly seems to have worked. Skrillex caught up to the back of Verstappen once again. Not a lot of time, half a lap to make a move. And, in the same time, this strain must be felt by both drivers. Verstappen made a mistake in these next couple of corners. So there's the mistake! We're literally just talking about it right there. There's a mistake. And that is going to push Verstappen onto an inside, not optimal line at all. And that is going to mean that Skrillex is going to get a better exit out of this corner here, coming down towards the hairpin. And this might come down to a late braking maneuver coming down into the final couple of corners.
I think Christian's talking a bit too much in your ear, Austin. If you think there's going to be a dive through this chicane, but yeah, I think Skrillex there probably think better of it. I think he's probably maybe conceded that first place isn't his. It's a shame that it's a sort of battle where it's a shame that somebody has to come second in, to be honest.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah, some very
agree.
exemplary driving from Verstappen and from
Yeah,
Skrillex.
to keep it going for so long and not make contact with very minor mistakes. That's an amazing race all the way throughout. Like you can't put words on that kind of thing.
Yeah, indeed. I think that's a. And also, let's not forget Andy Boardman, of course. While we're talking about exemplary racecraft, some great driving from Andy
A little
Boardman
bit
there.
of drifting.
Managed the race completely, comfortably. And of course, as much as we can probably, well, probably not now, but I think he deserves to beat up his car a little bit there after keeping it nice and clean for pretty much an hour, to be honest. So well done, Andy
Yeah,
Boardman.
just a little bit. I mean, I mean, again, let's not discount Bodman here as well. He hasn't had a whole lot of screen time here, but you know, it just comes with that kind of consistency. They've been kind of unchallenged throughout the race so far, and you know, they kept it clean for as long as they did, and just Bodman doing what Bodman does, and it's a shame we couldn't see Dauber up there again to make the overall championship a little bit spicy. But if any championship points has been spicy, it's been between Verstappen and Skrillex now. So yeah, no, the times on the left are your top finishers: Boardman, McDonald, here on the podium for Pro Class. Verstappen, Skrillex, or Razor on the podium for the Pro GT4 class, and Phil Malta, Watts, and Kester on the podium for the AM class GT4. And anyone below that who, without the finish, without the checker flag next to them, hasn't finished the race, sadly. So a lot to take in. A lot has happened. A lot's happened over the last hour, Phil. What I mean, what are your thoughts?
Well, they're a bit of a not a mess. I don't want to call it a mess because it doesn't do that race justice if I was calling it that. But yeah, it's been too. There's probably too much to talk about for like a 30-second summary, isn't there? To be honest, but seen some great racing, some great driving. Um, yeah, but yeah, full credit to as we said our winners today: Boardman, Verstappen, and Phil Malta. Some very good driving as well. And full credit as well to obviously our other podium finishers: McDonald, Yo, Skrillex, Eraser, Watts, and Kester. Some great driving from everyone today. To be honest, I've been thoroughly entertained for an hour.
Yeah, I mean, driver of the race for me, it's hard to say. Between Skrillex and Verstappen, Dauber went on a charge. It just so much has
We can
happened.
we can share it between Skrillex and Verstappen. To be honest, for
That
driver of
might
the day.
be, that might be the
Shared honours, boys. We can't decide between you.
that might be the way forward. But no, anyway, thank you guys for joining us on this. I mean, it's been simultaneously a long one and very tiring. And you know, if you guys want to get involved in racing like this, you know, just feel free to join the Discord. You know, we have leagues of all skill levels available and on offer. You know, so if you whether or not you fancy yourself running with the likes of these guys, or even if you don't feel like you're quite on pace, we have a server for you. I want to make a big shout out to to the partners too. AAK Informatica for providing all the server solutions that we use here at RCI. Driver 61, you can get 25% off of your driver coaching using our discount code, link in the description. We actually have a fair few of RCI staff that have also used that service, and it has provided great results too. So again, if you want to step up into the pro split, that might be something to consider. And Fanatec, one-stop shop for the best sim racing equipment, and you can use our affiliate link in the description. Doesn't cost you anything, and it helps us with things like server cost. And I think with that, Phil, unless you've got anything else you'd like to add, I think that might be everything as a whole.
I think so. Yes, I'm trying to think now.
I mean,
But-
I mean, again, we get to rerun the fun tomorrow as well. Obviously, we've got Friday Championship. That is tomorrow. We have Night Owl going on Saturday, and on Monday we have the Deutschland Masters as well. So,
I think that's over now.
oh, that's over now. Okay, cool. So, well, it's Friday night and Saturday night then.
And don't forget, for anybody, the Monday Champ is starting in a few weeks' time. That is the Ginetta Cup, a single make series in the Ginetta GT4. Will start. I think pre-qualifying starts. Yeah, pre-qualifying starts this Monday and carries on until the 23rd of October. And then the first round at Carl Army is on the 24th. So if you are interested in racing Ginettas with other Ginettas, then Monday Champ in a few weeks' time will be your one-stop shop for that. To be honest.
There we go. There we have it. So, plenty of things to look forward to, plenty of things to come. You've been, I've been Austin. You guys have been amazing. And for now, good night.